Artifact 11, Standard 6.2, Criterion 20 asks for educators to manage the use of technology for learning in a non-traditional classroom setting. In my AP Psychology class, students were given the chance to merge their understanding of psychology with the incorporation of computational thinking by creating an info story using Scratch coding. The initiative enriched the learning experience by enabling students to think creatively about how to effectively showcase their knowledge of the course within the framework of the coding platform. Despite initial challenges, students achieved success due to the clear guidelines and expectations set forth the assignment and its associated learning outcomes. In order to keep students engaged in the assignment provided, I attempted to provide plenty of opportunities for students to collaborate with each other. A couple of collaborative troubleshooting discussions took place in the beginning of class a couple days throughout the 2-week assignment. In these discussions, students had a 5-minute timer on the board and were supposed to find 3 people to think, pair, share their findings. After the timer was up, students were called on randomly to share a bit of information about their peers' stories to the class. This allowed students to get a better sense of the creative ideas of their peers, ask questions about the activity they struggled with, and discuss content knowledge through their understanding of this activity. In order to keep up with the ethical issues surrounding the use of technology, I had my students investigate the guidelines regarding the ethics of technology use, both in the classroom we were working with, Scratch, as well as the ethical guidelines as provided by our county. Students are provided with a clicker and a projector to share their final product to point out their procedure when sharing and explaining the process that led them to their final code. This proves the creativity provided by Scratch enables students to have the ability to create their own sprites and record their own sound audio simultaneously as part of their content knowledge. Artifact 11, Standard 6.3, Criterion 21 ask for educators to create opportunities for students to use a design process and/or computational thinking. In our Scratch project for AP Psychology students, I created an opportunity for students in a social science class to explore coding by making an info story that required them to use computational thinking. It's worth noting that many students did very well in their Scratch coding assessments. I was impressed by their ability to work on their own using the resources I provided without needing frequent help, which clearly showed their problem-solving skills. I provided a plethora of blended and online learning opportunities for my students throughout this assignment. I held a number of class discussions about the assignment, and in order to reach all learners, chose to use Padlet in addition to our class discussions. Students had the opportunity to record what they struggled with and what questions they had anonymously, which was quite effective. I prefer the use of the design thinking, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test process. While I think the only thing design thinking is truly lacking is the play, for my high schoolers, it works well in most settings. In this model, I like to work through a lesson by engaging all aspects of the student's learning, which culminates in a goal of comprehensive content knowledge. In order to implement all these areas, this takes a series of class periods. It begins with empathizing, where I start by connecting with students through humor, stories, and technology to create excitement for the lesson. I use Padlet for relatable discussions. Students discuss the lesson topic and then take define and apply DA notes to define terms and create their own examples. Students apply these terms to real-life examples or class discussions, encouraging them to consider the impact of the concepts on their lives based on their level of confidence in the content areas. In order to allow students to imagine and create, students generalize concepts and imagine scenarios, utilizing various resources like YouTube and group discussions to deepen their understanding. I reinforce learning through collaborative activities, assignments, station work, and assessments, sometimes using technology like Google Forms. Students then share their knowledge and results with peers through presentations, collaborative projects, discussions, or shared platforms, enhancing their content knowledge. Artifact 11, Standard 6.4, Criterion 22 asks for educators to model and nurture creativity. In the Scratch coding project for my AP Psychology students, I make sure to be really clear about what I expect. I tell them it's important to come up with their own interesting stories. I show them a story I made, and I encourage them to think in unique ways, using their own experiences. As they work on their projects, I create a safe space where they know it's okay to make mistakes while being creative. I also stress that they can choose any type of story they like to express themselves. All these steps help highlight the importance of being creative and thinking in creative ways when it comes to sharing ideas and connecting them. This student in my AP Psych course made a scratch video reviewing the learning unit of AP Psych. She talked about Pavlov's dog and included a dog, as well as Skinner and the theory of classical conditioning. This video was then shown as the opener a couple of days later before our review day over this unit. This student in my advisement class chose to make a short video about fighting and why you shouldn't do it. This student is in the TSA, Technology Student Association at the school, and made this in only one class period. The video was then shown in class the next day to an authentically connected audience.